Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Gaku. Such a happy song. I'm not believing it. We're looking at the artist SOOOO. It's S with 4 O's after it. Interesting. The track is called Happppy Song with a lot of P's in it. And it looks like we have the Vocaloid Kagamine Len on vocals. That's the crazy thumbnail. I don't want to hit play. All right, let's dive into this and see what SOOOO is bringing to the table today. Dude, this is a wild chorus. It's just so full. I preemptively flinched. I thought it was going to be really big. It's so tough to even understand the harmonic information given just how dense some of these sections are. Like this, it sounds like there's legitimately every note being played simultaneously. It feels harmonically overwhelming. I thought maybe that was it. Of course not. There's got to be a little more, right? I am so woefully under-equipped to speak about this. Why does an electronic Vocaloid track have deathcore style jump scares in it? Oh, jeez. I guess a little surface level description here before we get into what little in-depth analysis I have for this is that I will say that there is some palatability tucked away in this track. Even during the more intense sections, there's a listenability to the vocal melodies. It is incredibly oppressive from a production standpoint, and I think even at times a compositional standpoint, as much of this song is designed to be overwhelming. But there's also a general ebb and flow, and probably more sections that are less layered and less contrasty than the sections that are extravagant in its writing. But it is one of those songs where the quieter moments aren't what's more memorable after a first time listen. Maybe after you know the lyrics of them, and I'm going to assume because it's Vocaloid, there's some scary, depressive, haunting story going on here. That maybe those quieter moments have more impact with familiarity. But the jump scares, that's what I'm going to remember. The next time someone tells me, hey, I want to request the artist SOOOO, this is going to be the first thing I think of, is large screaming moments. It is what is most memorable from a first time listen. And that kind of covers my experience here from a more casual perspective. I don't think I enjoyed this, but I didn't hate it. But it wasn't... It's a lot. Let's get into some analysis here. There's some things I want to talk about before we go check out the lyrics. First of all is focusing on those really big moments. I talked about harmonic largeness. It's everything. There's so many notes being played simultaneously at such a speed that I didn't really hear chord progression. I honestly didn't really hear chord either. I just heard sounds. I know there were moving notes, but I didn't get any harmonic information from it. Not even chromatic harmonic. which is the scale with every note we have, at least in 12-tone intonation, which is the most common breaking up of an octave that we have in most popular music. If you've seen a keyboard, if you've seen a traditional guitar, it's 12-tone. And so we have chromatic, which is all of them, but chromatic even itself has a flavor, a texture, a sound, and I didn't get that here. So it's not so much of being in a chord as much as it just is all notes happening all the time. It's the overwhelming element of pitch, which is interesting because I don't think I've ever come to this conclusion about a song before. There's certainly been some tracks where I could hear, oh, they're using most, if not all of the notes, but they're not distinctly using the chromatic style. This is just very clever use of shifting in and out of chords in order to capture all 12 notes without ever feeling chromatic, while still having like a scaled characteristic from moment to moment. But I've never listened to something like this where it's all the notes, but not a scale. It's really bizarre. It is just all the notes all the time, and it feels incredibly overwhelming, but it's also paired with what I think is just as important in these moments is the production. It is enormous. I can't even speak right. The bass sound that exists, not even just on the floor, it is around my head. This driving bass sound that is against this wild, layered, arpeggiating stuff is just so big. And this is, it's a 2018 video. It's got some more modern YouTube compression on it. It's not as bad as something from, the mid 2000s, but we still have YouTube's compression on this. How much larger does this feel with a lossless version? I don't even know. But it's the mixing of all of these notes and these big bassy thumping sounds, and it just captures this vastness. It is very rare for me to feel an expansive soundscape with large tones. It's usually the opposite, where the largeness of the instrument feels like it takes up all the space, and because it's just one instrument, it feels a bit more claustrophobic, a bit smaller. It fills up the space not because it's large, but because the space is small. And that's not what happens here. This feels large and filled by one instrument. There's a monolithic element to this that almost feels monstrous. And then you have this really tiny vocal against all of this noise, and it feels so trapped within there. It's interesting too because, granted, I've only listened to a few Vocaloid tracks, but for the most part, they've been on the, I don't know if this is the right word for it, the poppier side. It's definitely electronic music, and the Vocaloid stuff tends to be pop adjacent, usually vocals placed a bit forward in the mix, making sure that they're heard, and frequently dominating the song itself. There might be an instrumental break, but for the most part, the song is focused on the vocals, much like pop music tends to be. And here the vocals are tucked so much into the mix that it feels like they're barely there at all. It's completely drowned out and overwhelmed by the sheer monstrosity of the instrumentation around it. The chorus here is just masterclass in sonic storytelling, while also being something incredibly, I don't know if I really want to call it unique, because I'm sure if we get into more experimental realms, we'll have heard this type of atonal, non-chromatic harmonic information in older works. I don't think it's entirely inventive, and the big booming bass kick, I mean, that's maybe never to this level, but that's kind of a cornerstone to a lot of electronic music. But this is my introduction kind of to these sounds and pairing them together in a way that overpowers the vocals. And probably not the first ever, but the first to me that's done this in this style. Again, it's the poppier thing that kind of throws me off too, the electronic element to it. Stuffing vocals into the mix, I've heard that in metal plenty of times. Not really electronic music with clean vocals though. The atmosphere to this is maybe the last thing I have to bring up here. It's oppressive. Every which way, not even just talking about the large sections, which, yes, feels like a weight bearing down upon me, but also the quieter moments. Sometimes lonely, sometimes isolating, sometimes vulnerable, oftentimes haunting or eerie, unsettling, something lurking on the edge of your vision. That's what most of this track feels like to me until it explodes and just pops, and then there's the loud noises and lots of notes. It is. Oh, I made the allusion to jump scares earlier, but that's actually how jump scares work in film too. You bring the volume down, focus on tensor note relationships, and then jump the sound up a lot. You're using sound or harmony in order to create tension and anxiety within the listener, and then you use volume to scare them. That's exactly what happens here. So much of this song keeps you on the edge of your seat until it's right in your face and it scares you back into your seat. I mean, I even preemptively flinched at one point as I was sure we were about to enter into another large, massive, bombastic moment. I got faked out by a jump scare. That's not anything that's happened in music to me. Film, sure. Fake outs happen all the time. But music? Thinking about the music video to this too, there is certainly a horror aesthetic applied to it, both with the unnerving amount of eyes surrounding some of these characters, but also in the visuals, the heavy uses of reds and blacks. I'm pretty sure one section was just blood covering the screen, so yeah, it's intense in the same way that a horror film can be, and it's using such much of the same language too, in the way that it controls the listener's emotions and states of anxiety. It is interesting just to listen to the variations in the harmony though, sometimes being a bit more haunting or eerie, other times being tense and anxious, sometimes just leaning into a little bit of sorrow. That's where most of the isolation and loneliness comes in. And of course, these three areas can be mixed and matched too. It's a great way to keep the song interesting from quiet moment to quiet moment, allowing some sort of evolution or movement to happen between them, but pretty much no matter what, moving from any of these or any combination of these into a larger, louder, bombastic moment, it's going to work. And it just gives a lot of flexibility to the artist in order to fluidly move between any of them. You can have nice harmonic transitions between any of the quieter sections, and any of them can transition to the bombastic because you want that sharp contrast, that harsh transition from one idea to the other with no smooth movement between them, just snapping between a quieter to a louder moment. And it allows this song to have its moments of fluidity while also going for those crazy sharp turns. Now, lyrically, I'm a bit lost on this, to be totally honest. There is this general feeling of depression, of not being able to do anything right. The first time we hit the chorus, it says, I can't stop mocking myself, I can't stop being desperate, I can't stop hurting myself, dancing with triple S grade madness addiction due to the depression of the comedy melted in the hippocampus. I can't even do simple things. Yet I am a miracle of this world, and I'm so happy, a blessing to this world. This is a really interesting twist because so much of this track is the self-loathing, it's the self-hatred, it's the lack of self-image or poor self-image. It is the constant focusing on what they can't do. There is a general middle point to this track. After the second chorus and before the final chorus, there is a series of stanzas that don't really mean much to me. Sometimes it's a grammatical thing that's a bit interesting that kind of makes it difficult for me to interpret what's being said. But often it's just, it almost seems like nonsense statements. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. There is a moment though, he says, I wonder if you love me, if you can reach out to me, if you want to embrace me, if you intend to make me have a relapse. And there seems to be a question that their loneliness is not without an other, but they're afraid that the other might be manipulating them for nefarious purposes. Asking if you really love me and are you trying to make me relapse? We then go into a bit of an edgy stanza. It talks about having 5,000 decapitations and 800 million crucifixion flowers, that they're overlooking a rhapsody fading away with a rotting odor. I don't know. They repeat to this other person, presumably, don't think you are trying to save me. They say that over and over and over. Eventually coming to the conclusion that they are evil, that if they survive this life, it is because they are a sin. We return to the chorus, but with some lyrical alterations here. It says, I can't stop dancing with Z-grade madness addiction due to the tragic reality melted in the hippocampus. Says it's not that I don't want to be able to do this, but now I just want to disappear. I am happy to be unhappy. Happy birthday to me. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I understand this, but I do think I get the general gist of a rather depressed person with a poor outlook on themselves and their life. Maybe there are people around them, and maybe they actually are trying to hurt them. Maybe the narrator just feels that they are, that nothing good can come from this. So if anyone is actually in vicinity, in proximity to them, they are looking out for their own self-interests and not the narrator's. I don't know. Regardless, it's a track that is filled with a bunch of negativity and I guess trying to find a light through that, finding happiness through the unhappiness. And that sort of negativity pairs well with the music. I'm not sure about the heavy, bombastic, loud jump scare parts, but well, actually I do, because that's chaos, it's noise, it's their life. It's not pleasant at all. That's how they view so much of themselves, but also the loneliness, the depression, the sorrow of the track pairs well with at least the themes I'm picking up from the lyrics. These, however, are just my thoughts, though, on SOOOO's Happy song. What do you think of this? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this track? Let me know. Add all of that as well as anything else you'd like to into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree, which takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.